It is over. Succession finale. I know how I feel. Top 2 show of all time. It was fucking awesome to me, but it is over. I am sad. Lots of thoughts. I just did a second rewatch. I did my first rewatch of it, even though it was kind of breezed through. But I just got to ask you, gentlemen, and everybody knows, Keem, Brendan, this will be a crossover episode between the Extraordinary Nobodies and ASOS, probably on the ASOS channel. Whoever wants to start, what'd you guys think? With this being the final episode, did they land the plane?
I think they landed the plane. I think it was a rocky landing. Not in terms of kind of some of the things. It's more so a choices thing for me. It's not execution because I feel like they executed it. I'm not surprised at all that Tom's the king. It's kind of been planned. Like that's the tea leaves have been there for Tom to be the king the entire time. It's not. It doesn't. That's not a surprise. It's kind of like somebody I saw. I'm doing like a little sabbatical from Twitter. But I saw somebody sent me a tweet. And they were comparing Daenerys to Tom, like the Game of Thrones ending to the way Tom. And I'm like, not exactly, but I can see like the idea behind it. With Daenerys, personally with me, Game of Thrones, because we're talking about endings, and that was HBO's last, in my opinion, like series ending. That was like one of the bigger things that kind of took up, zeitgeist, kind of like Succession is right now. Daenerys was just rushed. It was always leading to that. It was always like, if people say like, oh, Daenerys would have never done that, she's been a villain this whole time if you watch the show. Whole time. And so it was always leading to that. It was just rushed. The Tom thing wasn't rushed at all. It wasn't rushed. It made sense. I just don't agree with how we got there. But after rewatching it a second time, kind of like it's starting to make more sense to me with Shiv being the one who made it happen. Because in my opinion, I was like, it would have been a Roman type. Roman would have been the one to say yes, like he did in the fucking first season finale. Was it? Yeah, I think it was the first season finale. Or not even the first season finale, but the first season. I think like episode 7, I want to say, or episode 6, where they had the vote. They were trying to get Logan out. And then, Logan looks at Roman and calls him Romulus and says like, yo, how you voting? And he's like, I'm not voting with Kendall, Dad. He does that Roman thing. And shout out to Kieran. Like, he's been fucking great in this show. I would argue that he's been the best. Do
you believe that argument fully? He has been great, but do you believe it fully?
No, I would argue, but to me, you really, Tom, like it's so many, like Tom, you got like, there's so many great actors in this. But anyway, so I said it to say, like, the thing with Kieran, and it was like, okay, all right, so we're watching it, and it's like, okay, it's kind of making sense. I kind of get it now, but I just felt like it would have been more so Roman to do it, and I felt like they wanted to stick with their trend of finales of upending us and surprising us, and like thinking that like this is the way it's gonna, like, oh yeah, first season finale, like, oh yeah, Kendall's got it, like Kendall, you know what I'm saying, he's got it sold up. Oh no, he killed somebody and his dad knows, and so now it's gonna. Second season, okay, Kendall's gonna take the fall, and no, he's not gonna take the fall. And third season, oh, the kids, they're together, we're on the same team, and oh, Tom, he betrayed you all, like he doesn't give a shit about you all. And I felt like they wanted to stick with their like continuous theme, and they kind of forced it a little bit, in my opinion, with Shiv, it being her, because, and the reason I say it was forced, it just felt like Shiv's whole thing has been this entire time, like, the boys will play and they don't let the girls play. And like, she really wants to be, in the game and all that, which again, as I'm thinking about it, I was like, well, that kind of makes sense why she did it. Cause she really just didn't want to lose. They say it earlier in the episode. Tom says it earlier in the episode to her when she's talking to Tom about their relationship. He says to her, you really hate to fail a test. And it's very true. She really hates to fail a fucking test. And I feel like in that moment, she felt like she failed a test. And so I think the reason I don't like it, to be honest, to bring that all full circle, is because I really wanted Kendall to get it. And I was just like, I won't say I didn't like it, because that's wrong, because I love Succession. It's top 3 for me, probably top 2 of my shows, favorite all time. Oh, The Wire's still number 1.
So let me ask you this, because I want to get us streamlined as far as like maybe even a numbers game, not the series itself, but looking at series finales, right? So there's great series finales. There's series finales that some people don't love. So Sopranos, 6 Feet Under, Lost, things like that. 1 to 10, where do you have this finale, this series finale?
Just this one on a scale of 1 to 10.
On a
10
scale
being
of
the
1
best.
to 10, this one, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give him a 7.5. 7.5. Not bad. Above like a 7, not an 8, but a 7.5. Because this is the point I was gonna raise. In terms of finales, you could argue that this is their worst finale of all the seasons. Because to me, season 2 finale is up there for me. Season 3 as well. Season 1 and season 4. This being season 4, you can kind of alternate those to whichever one you want to put. However, I just felt like if your series finale, in terms of your finales, just not even like all of your episodes, but in terms of your finales for that season, where does it rank? Like where are we talking like in that show in general, just not like amongst all shows, but in that show in general. So if we're looking at Game of Thrones, where does the series finale rank amongst the other finales? It doesn't rank it's the worst probably. Right. So it's like, yeah, like it's down at the bottom or something. But if you look at this one, it's like, it's good. It just, to me, it didn't, the moments, and I said this to somebody, I was like, man, in season 2, in season 1, even in season 3, it's always that like jaw dropping, like, what the fuck? But this is dope as hell moment. In this, it was just like, what the fuck? This is not dope as hell. I don't even like, damn, Shiv, you fucking asshole. Like, you fucking asshole. But
Shiv's the cunt to Keem.
But
cunt is as cunt does.
Cunt is as cunt does. But it all, I mean, she got played like a fucking pregnant cello. But it made sense. It made sense. And this is where it's different from Game of Thrones. It made sense. I can't tell you that I can't sit here and be like, yeah, no way this ever happens. Like it doesn't line up. Because as you think about it, it does line up. It really does. So but I'm
gonna let Brennan start cooking here because there are a couple things I want to say that really talk to that series finale aspect of it. But Brennan, what were your thoughts? Did they land a plane?
So first, it's bittersweet because they absolutely 100% landed the plane. But it's like one of those plane landings where it's like, damn, that was good. Take this fucking plane right back off. I'm ready to get on another journey with this cast and crew. And directors and all that shit, because it brought it to a conclusion. It told the story promised in the title in the very first episode of the season of the Succession. But so I can't fault it for stopping here, right? He told the story he wanted to tell, and it was a complete story. But I feel like the story of the Roys is in some ways just beginning with Logan's death and with the company getting yanked out from under them. Like, what the fuck are they going to do from here? The one I have the clearest idea about is Shiv, and I don't have a clear idea about her. But yeah, I thought it was wonderful. It made me sad and happy, and I really enjoyed the episode. Do I think this was one of the best episodes of last season? No, I think the episode as itself was probably middle of the pack for if you rank the episodes in the whole final season. But it did what it needed to do, and it would have been very difficult to do it in this time frame without hitting all these beats, right? So they couldn't have like lots of the funny, much of the meta commentary on the how disgusting capitalism was, and they had to focus on the family, right? Because they had to bring the Succession to a close, and it was understandable. But that's some of the stuff I love the most about it, like the politics and the wealth and whatnot. And one thing I always remember after these shows is you see fucking Kendall and Roman and Shiv. Only one who's smiling, even a little bit at the end, is Roman. And these motherfuckers all failed to gain their father's thing and made themselves billions of dollars in the process. They failed to get the control of the company and made themselves billions. Because that's what happens to rich people. They fail up.
That is exactly. They fail upwards.
Yeah. They fail upwards. They fail and become richer.
The thing is, the hardest thing for me always to swallow during this entire thing is that if I'm looking at any of the siblings in the sense of I can pull personality traits from each one of them, if I'm being completely honest about myself and really doing a deep searching. But the one who I agree as far as actions go probably is Connor. Just give me my little slice and let me go over there.
I agree.
I don't want to worry about this shit.
I can also identify with all of the siblings in Succession.
I just don't want to work that hard for anything.
But the one I want to be is Connor. Yeah. Yeah.
So 1 to 10, where you? So 1 to 10, where do you have it? Where do you have it in the 1 to 10?
As a ranking? Oh, I have it higher than Keem, but probably like 8.5 or so. Because I'm trying to think of the 10 out of 10s, and the only one I can really think of is Breaking Bad, and The Wire would be higher than it for the season for the series finale. Even though the 5th season of The Wire was definitely not as good as the final season of this, the finale, the last episode of The Wire was almost perfect to me. So yeah.
Keem, do you have something to say before I hop in?
Those are the
I was agreeing. No, I was 100% agreeing.
What I was thinking, those are the two series finales, and we've discussed, and we won't get into this. I'm not a fan of the Sopranos finale because I wanted to see Tony Soprano get shot, and it didn't happen.
He clearly told you what the fuck was going to happen, so
I wanted to see it. I wanted to see the light go out of his eye.
To see that, we live the story through him. We don't get to see it after it ends.
I will add this though, real quick. I think, because I haven't seen Sopranos. We're not going to get into it. But that's where I think you do have to pay a little bit of fan service in that to be a really great finale. Like Breaking Bad it's great finale, but like I read an article after it came out, and it was like, nah, this doesn't make sense. And I was like, why does it make sense? And then it was like Walter White's plans never go as smoothly as that one did. That's why the theory that he actually died in the beginning came out, and like that was just a dream, which
until I'm
not. That's too deep for the intro. I'm not.
Until the money grab El Camino came out.
I'm not getting into all that, but it's just like you do have to pay a little bit of fan service. I don't think there was any fan service in the Succession finale. I don't.
So all right. So I want to have the conversation with you guys that you've said as far as the series finale part of it. But I'll say overall, 100% they landed the plane, and the reason they landed the plane to me is that the characters stayed true to the truest form of who they are, and I think what it did more than anything was that Jesse Armstrong is a cynical son of a bitch. Oh, and you can see at his core, I don't believe he believes people are capable of change. I don't believe that
at least not wealthy people. At least not
wealthy people. Right. Yeah. At least not wealthy people. But and even if they do change, it's just on the surface level for a little bit of time before the true colors come back. I think there's something I said that I talk about Succession on fucking every podcast I do. And another one of the podcasts I do is Dish Divided. Shout out Amit. And he was asking me what my expectations were for the series finale. And I said that, well, in my opinion, great shows like this, the series finale is different than a season finale. The series finale to me is tying the ends. The story to me is pretty much over. The show is over in the penultimate episode for me, majority of the time.
It is. It is very
usually the best shows to me, that penultimate episode is usually where you're getting the absolute best version of what this show could be. Because the last episode is just, hey, how can we wrap things up to end the chapter and get them keep going wherever their lives are going to go, right? So you think about like the shows that ended at the top. Like, so you look at like Seinfeld, right? Seinfeld tried to do, I think, what you did, which was like the fan service thing where it ended up almost becoming like a clip show. They bring in everybody from the past to come in. They do their thing. That felt almost way too fan servicey and forced. And then you have the ultimate. Well, these guys are in jail, as they all probably deserve to be. Yeah. And right, so like we understand the ending, but it's like the episode itself is just like, yeah, I didn't like that. Like I get you guys were trying to make us remember everybody that came, but like I don't really love that. And
it felt like the reunion show. The finale of Seinfeld did.
And that to me has always been where my tiers go. And we'll talk about Succession's legacy at the end of this. But to me, there's always been a tier thing on how much you need to wrap up in the series finale that makes me understand or wonder how good your show actually was. It's the way I feel about Breaking Bad, if I'm being completely honest, in the sense of the way that so many things had to come to the conclusion in that final episode, where they had to wrap everything tightly. To me, just meant you didn't spend enough time with the storytelling, and maybe you didn't choose the ending that you thought, or there's something outside that didn't let you complete the story.
Whoa! The Breaking Bad ended in Ozymandias. The rest was epilogue. And I disagree in the sense of El Camino, and the reason I disagree in El Camino is that Camino was fine.
Yeah, you got to separate that. I
don't. And the reason I do, here's why I don't. If you've left everything on the page, you don't need it. You don't need it.
That's a money grab. That's a money grab.
I'm not denying that, but to me, all of that, even at the money grab, if you continue the story in any way, shape, or form beyond where you stopped, it now impacts the way I feel about your story. Because it's now part of canon. It's your story.
So you haven't seen Saul, right? You haven't seen Saul.
No, I haven't seen Saul, which I know can impact that hugely. 100%.
Exactly. I would say your opinion is uninformed. That's all I would say.
Fair.
Because you need to watch it. You got to watch that.
Totally fair. That's totally fair. But we'll talk about legacy, because I know that I feel a certain ways about Breaking Bad.
You would love Saul, by the way. We've talked about this.
I think I would love Saul more than I like Breaking Bad. I'm going to be completely honest. I do.
Yes,
and I think it'll make things neater for Breaking Bad for me. Some of the issues I have with Breaking Bad, I think, can be solved with Saul.
I agree.
Think that's possible.
I agree.
But if I'm looking at series finales in the sense of like, and I was watching the after the episode thing that Mark Mylod and Jesse Armstrong had after this episode, and you hear Jesse's standpoint or Mark's standpoint. They're like, yeah, the show kind of ended for us at Logan's funeral. Like the story after that, it was sort of like, who's going to get the chair? Does it matter? Like, does it really matter to us who has to get the chair? Like nothing in the series finale to me changed in the sense of, we all knew none of the kids deserved to have it. We all knew that if they continued in any way, shape, or form, it was not going to be for the betterment of themselves at all. We knew going into that Mattson would want an empty suit. He doesn't want somebody with a brain. We see that happen at the funeral, right? We see when Kendall makes his speech, and you see Mencken and you see Mattson look, I don't think we control that one. This ain't gonna work. And I think they look at Roman and they say, this might be too much of a bitch, and if somebody else gets their hands on him, we can't control that. And they look at Shiv and Shiv just kind of gets tossed out because she has her own ideas, because she wants and she has desires. And I think that what you saw in that episode was that you knew that none of them were going to get it. And anything that happened in the series finale that made us think that they were going to was, to bring up Keem's point earlier, I don't think that it's just upending us, right? Because I do think that they do a better job than any other show in the history of television with upending us. Because I think for majority of shows, there's always like a cheap twist. The M. Night Shyamalan twist, right? It ain't a twist. It's a British guy who understands American audiences, knows what we expect from television, and plays it against us. Yes. The Living Plus episode with Kendall. We have built in seasons of seeing Kendall fail at every opportunity. If somebody put a gun to each of our heads in that Living Plus episode, is Kendall gonna fail? We would have all said abso-fucking-lutely. All the characters in the show, he's gonna fail. As a matter of fact, when we watch the Living Plus demonstration happening, we don't know if he's doing a good job. We don't know.
We don't.
We have no idea. It's not until he lands. And here's the thing. He doesn't really do a great job. He does a great job for tech billionaires that usually chirp out bullshit, right? Yep. Does a great job for that universe. So it's not really playing us. He knows what he knows what we're looking at. And he's saying, you guys aren't even being the truest that you can be to yourselves about this. And I think that that's what's so grandiose about it. That's what's so great about it. So if I'm giving it a 1 to 10, knowing that like 10s, there are series finales that are better, more entertaining episodes of television. I think 6 Feet Under is probably the best series finale I've ever seen in my life. That being said, the quality of programming the 6 Feet Under is 2 tiers below what it is that I'm watching in the show. So while I might grade it higher as a series finale, this one I'm still giving a 9. Because I just think at the end of the day, they stayed true to the core tenets of each of the characters. Nothing happened that was something out of left field. And everything, if we really thought about it, happened exactly the way it was supposed to. And it unfolded in a way in which we're going to talk about the scenes, but I'm going to spoil one right now. The scene in which they are meal for King, the musical score changes. I know that I was sitting around because I'm actually house sitting with Brendan's sister, and I was in the kitchen watching on my iPad. That's how I watched the series finale discussion. It was on my iPad in the kitchen. I was sitting on the stools. So I'm sitting there, and I noticed to myself, dude, you're fucking geeking. I had this dumb, silly grin on my face. I'm having fun with the siblings. I'm like, yo, this is dope. And when they get back and they're all just chatting on the phones in the tarmac, oh, should we go to the allocation? Should we go to the allocation? All right, let's go. And they all hop in the video. I'm like, dude, this is fucking dope. The siblings are back. They got this. And I'm happy. And in the moment, I was like, you can't really believe this, can you? Like, you can't. You can't believe this. You can't. Like, there's nothing else you know that this is going to be okay. It can't be. It won't be. Don't be a fucking idiot. And I love that it made me do that. I adore that it made me do that.
Wonderful. I agree. But I didn't think there was anything surprising in this episode for me. The fact that the most surprising thing was the fact that Shiv did it in, but even then that wasn't surprising because you've been discussing that with me for a long time. I was Team Tom at the start of the season. I told you, we discussed this like a few hours before the episode. I was like, they're going to choose Tom. And you were like, they're going to choose Greg because you're a dumbass. No,
you're right. I told you to listen to Dish Divided because I will tell you exactly what my point was. And it's going to sound like I'm hedging my bets, but I'm being completely honest because you know how I feel about Jesse.
Mr. Hedger.
I said, no, if you listen to Dish Divided, I said it. I said it with Ahmed. You talked to Ahmed about it. I said that it looked as though they were telegraphing Greg. It feels as though it's Greg. And that's the reason I don't think it could be Greg because I'm not smarter than Jesse.
Yeah.
And if I think it's going to be this guy, it can't be.
I thought it was going to be Tom because I thought it was pretty obvious.
Nailed it. You did nail
it. Next choice. He's somebody who Manson can control. He knows the business, right? He's not going to spook the markets. He's qualified with all the time he spent at ATN and in the cruises division.
All right, hold that thought because that gets into the next topic. Unless, Keem, did you have something you wanted to say on the last part? Because we're just going to roll into this next.
Oh, yeah, just because the Tom thing being a surprise, like I said, like it's not a surprise that it's Tom. It's like I said, like the Wamsgans, like I didn't know about his last name, but I know about it now. And
TikTok that went viral.
I know I never watched TikTok. I don't fucking. I'm old. I don't get on fucking TikTok.
I mean, they just record the TikToks and put it on Twitter. You might have seen it on Twitter,
but I'm away from Twitter right now, so I didn't see it. But yeah, but like the Wamsgans thing, like I had people texting me and talking to me about it. But here's the thing: the bigger thing that why Tom was always going to succeed. I was texting one of my friends last night and earlier today. We were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, the Tom thing doesn't surprise me. She was like, shout out to Tip. She was like, yeah, the Tom thing doesn't surprise me either because in real corporate life, all the kiss asses are in charge. And she was like, think about it. And I was like, yeah, like, yeah, like at your job, at my job, the dude who's in charge of me, who doesn't know, who may or may not know what he's doing and may or may not be good at his job, sucks enough dick, word to Shiv, sucks any dick, any size dick, word to Shiv, doesn't matter, and he stays in that position because he does suck enough dick.
Did you just do the double hand twist?
I did. I did. So because he does suck enough dick, he stays in position. That's true for people, everybody in real life. And Succession has been true to real life this entire series. And that's one of the things I love about it. It's one of the things I love about The Wire. So I 100% agree with that.
Okay, Brennan, I'll let you continue. So we're here at Tom is now king. How do we feel about Tom being king?
So first, as Keem was saying, it fits Jesse's vision of capitalism that the empty suit is of course going to be the one who has the most success. The one who has no opinions of for himself. It just wants wealth and proximity to power, is doing whatever it takes, no matter how degrading personally it is, to get it. He's going to be the one who gets to the number 2 position, right? Because that's what it is ultimately, right? It's a number 2 position under Manson. He's going to be the one who succeeds. Yeah. Not the one who's most qualified, has the best ideas. No, the one who's best at kissing ass and taking pain which even Madsen said.
Pain sponge, baby. Pain
Pain
sponge.
sponge.
I need my
Pain
pain sponge.
So it was perfect. I loved it. So that was the part that I loved the most about the episode. That and Shiv's decision. Those were the two things I loved the most. Tom getting it and Shiv's decision, which she made, which I thought was wonderful.
And I think that's my follow-up question. I will say Tom being king. I know when me and Brennan were doing the Succession pod, we were both Team Tom. We've been Team Tom. We're rocking Team Tom. I know that we both believed, especially after last season, that Tom was probably the most in power, most in play for everything. Yep. Then Jesse did a great job in relegating Tom to bitch duty majority of this season until his ATN thing. I think that the Tom being anointed king, to me, the moment that you kind of solidified it for me was the funeral episode. There's a moment, and if you get to listen to Alexander Skarsgård, who did the official Succession pod right after, he talked about this. But the moment when Shiv is talking to Greg about where Tom is, and Tom's at work, you see Madsen's face react. There's a moment in which he says, he's at work. There's almost a Logan-esque appreciation that he has, and he locks that away. That's something to remember. That's something that I need to remember, that Tom was at work during all this shit, which was dope. And I love the funeral scene. There was so much stuff happening in the background. You can see what people were thinking, which was just awesome to me. But Tom does make all the sense in the world. I feel so stupid for even considering that Greg could be the guy when every reason in which I thought Greg could be the guy, Tom is tenfold with business experience. It just makes no sense, right? It's like you were saying, there was an article that got written that the Greg choice would be more Veep-like than Succession-like, and that's true. That's 100% true.
Something very similar to that happened in Veep. Very similar to the Greg character becoming the vice president, the number 2 position, and it was perfect for a satire. But this is not fully a satire. This is
I think it's fully a satire, but it's more drama filled.
More drama,
less ha-ha.
Well, it's less overt comedy, right? Yeah, it's less. Yeah.
So I think that we can't talk about Tom being anointed without the big thing that happened, which I think most people are talking about today. I know Keem kind of alluded a little bit already how he's feeling about this, but Shiv's decision. Whether or not you agree or disagree with Shiv's decision. Brennan, I want you to go first. I'm actually going to save Keem for last because I'm gonna get a cunt counter up for how many times he calls it that, because I can't imagine he likes her too often. But what'd you think? I know you alluded to it too, Brennan, about Shiv's decision. What did you think about it? There's been a lot of talk this season about people not understanding Shiv's motives necessarily and what it is she's been doing.
Well, I don't think. What? I don't think the character understands.
So that's my thing. So looking at the decision today, I want you to look back over the course of the series. Look back at the course of the series as far as Shiv leading up to this decision. What did you feel about her decision?
I thought it was first of all, I thought it was perfect because it was a combination of things. One is, of course, Tom. She doesn't want to fail the test. I think she genuinely wants to give Tom and her a shot, right? And she understands this is the only way, right? And not maybe not the only way, you understand, but like realistically, if she torpedoes Tom's career again, there's not any chance. She has a baby. Presumably she wants Tom involved. She's going to have a baby. Presumably she wants Tom involved in raising it. And then there's also a huge part of her that I think simply cannot stomach the idea of Kendall winning. She'd rather it all burn or she'd rather it all burn, and maybe not all burn, but there's that. And second, I think she probably realizes that her proximity to power is greatest if Tom gets it, not if her siblings get it. And then finally, I thought, oh man, the way it ended with the most heartbreaking scene in the entire episode, to me, was Tom and Shiv in the car when Tom
corpse handhold,
and Shiv just kind of like lays her hand on and just looked like
had many a car ride like that, buddy.
It looked like one of the most unhappy couples I've ever seen, and I was just like, "Oh, this is awful." Yeah, So I thought,
not worse than that. I'll tell you right now, it's uncomfortable as shit. Or when you do the bit, she squeezes for a little bit, but after like 10 seconds, you're both kind of over it. So you put your hand back on the steering wheel or something because it's like,
I thought it was painful, but it was perfect. Because I mean, like essentially, that's saying she's become what she never wanted to be with Tom's wife. And
okay.
What was the other thing you were going to say?
No, I'll say my piece.
Mrs. How do you pronounce Tom's last name?
Wamsgans.
Mrs. Wamsgams, right? That's what she's become, and she's deeply unhappy.
Counter's not ready, Keem. You're not jumping it
yet. And so I thought that was perfect. I could not complain about that. It was great because I did not see it coming that Shiv would be the weak link. I figured Roman would be the big weak link going into the meeting, but once it happened, it made perfect sense, which is the best thing for a twist for me is that you don't see it coming, but when it does happen, you're like, that was so perfect. It was inevitable, yada, yada, yada. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about that.
I can agree with almost everything you said. There are two things. Number one, the moment that it happened to me where I knew, or at least felt deep down, this wasn't going to happen, was in this episode, the moment that Kendall sits down in Logan's chair and puts his feet on the desk. And him and Stewie do this back and forth thing, and they cut to a single shot of Shiv. And she makes a face. You can see she's looking at Kendall, and then you see her eyes shift to the feet at the end of the table. And at that moment, you could tell within her, I'm fucking disgusted. This is disgusting. I don't want this. Kendall is a piece of shit, and this is where we're going with this. Which I think that was the moment that I was like, things are not okay. That's the crack. That's the crack right there. But the thing that you said is that the one person that she didn't want to be, and you said Tom's wife. This one word that I wanted to say was Caroline. Caroline. It's her mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Now here's the thing: is Tom Logan? No, he's Logan Mark II, the sexy Logan. So there's that. But he's Logan, the sexy
Logan.
But she becomes a version of her mother, which is the thing that look, the true villain of Succession, in my opinion, Logan's a piece of shit. But there is no truer villain in the show than Caroline. Oh my God.
Awful.
She is a piece of work.
Just awful person.
From the funeral episode, the look up and down. Cunt. Cunt. Just holy shit.
Brief aside.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Keem. That was so good. No,
Sally Ann, meet Marsha.
Yeah.
Sally Ann was my Carrie.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say is that Caroline's such a piece of shit. I love the fact that she wants all of her children together for a meal. It's a fucking pitch meeting for her husband and his friend.
Peter Munion's friend with the creamy
margins. And remember, it's like a throwaway line in the background. He's like, we're going to be cutting it close to the wind, a little close to the wind here, but my lawyer's a Sherman. He's trying to pitch them on some borderline criminal scheme. And that's the only reason she wanted her kids together, was to have a pitch meeting at her Barbados house for her husband and her husband's friend.
Sorry, had some technical difficulties. There might be a little choppiness right there in it. Keem's computers and internet's from 1872. Got that slave internet.
1672. 18 would be too. It'd be much better.
Much better. Got it. All right, understood. All right, so
are you pedaling to keep it going the whole time? Your internet stationary, by
it's very much like the first 30 minutes. Like, we're good. We're fine. And then it's like, yo, we've been doing this too long.
The hamsters need to be replenished.
They got tired. What can you say? His internet hamsters, they can only go so long. Yeah.
Well, I mean, also his computer knew that we were just about to open it up to him and what his thoughts were on Shiv and the full Caroline deal. So, yeah, the only thing I'll say as far as the Shiv Caroline thing is that Tom is clearly not a Logan, unless, like I said, Mark II, the sexier version. The other thing about Shiv is that if we're being completely honest, I was just actually talking to my sister-in-law when I got here because they were over. This might sound sexist, but it's not. It's just true to the character. Shiv has not really accomplished a goddamn thing on her own. Everything that we've seen her at the peak of her abilities is being second fiddle to a more powerful man. And if we're being completely honest, like, if you look at what she did politically, where it is that Gil only hired her really for her last name, was she a good political operative? Yeah, but she's there egging him on, right? Not being her own person. And whether or not that means, I mean, just like Keem, you were talking about when it comes to corporate life, when it comes to guys like Tom, the empty kiss-ass suits end up being on top. A lot of times they just don't want to put a woman in charge. Maybe she could do a good job. I doubt it because Logan fucked all them kids up. So I just think because she's a Roy, she can't. It's not because she's a woman she can't. But in this society, a lot of times it's the woman doesn't get elevated. She ends up being the Eleanor Roosevelt, right? The one in the background's making the men stronger.
Yep.
And I think that right now, if we're primed to what might be best for it, she'll be a better operative than Caroline ever was.
Yeah.
And I think that might be big. I think her trying to navigate, because what do we see as soon as Tom gets anointed? Frank and Carl. Think about one more go round? Yeah. Let's slit the baby's throat. It's like
we should slit his throat.
And Tom was talking to Gray, and he said, "Those two are fucking gone."
Or Hugo, where's I'm so glad you got it. Where's Caroline?
Yep.
All right, what are your takes on so I'm gonna shut up. Keem, the cunt meter is on. Go ahead.
I don't we're talking about her decision, right? And so it's
yes.
I didn't want her decision. I won't say I disagree or agree with it. So here's the thing. So the Succession has had many like Godfather moments where there's like kind of like the season 3 finale where Tom the shot is very much like the ending of Godfather 1 with Michael and Kate kind of watching like, motherfucker, what you
through the door,
yeah,
the door closes.
right, and it's like that. And so but that would make Tom Michael. But Tom's not really Michael. Tom's Tom. Tom is Tom from the Godfather series. So I've tried to kind of look at it like that, right? Because they've given us many Godfather references throughout the series, and which I appreciate. And so if you look at it like that, I try to like which kid is which kid. All right, so is like I think a part of their issue is Kendall is Michael. So, but he's a weaker Michael than like Michael was to look. If you look back, and me and KDot have kind of talked about this a little bit. If you watch Godfather 2, and you kind of see that Michael and Don Corleone and Vito were like kind of like the same person. Like, they're pretty much really like the same person. Like they made the same decisions. The difference being that Michael didn't have a supportive wife. Vito did, really. Like, that's really the difference. That's literally really the difference between them. Like, Michael didn't make fucking bad decisions. He made good fucking decisions in terms of what Vito would have did. He did the same shit. And it just didn't work out. See, the difference between Kendall didn't make the exact same decisions that Logan would have made. Like, that's the difference. So Kendall's issue with me, I harken back to the season 2 when Logan's talking to Rhea. And they're talking about the kids. They're on the plane. They're talking about the kids. And he's like, I really don't know. Tell me what you think about my kids. Who can be like the successor and stuff like that. And she says like, yeah, Kendall, and it remained true throughout the series. We talked about it. It remained true throughout the series. Kendall has all the cards, doesn't know when to play them. And that's what the fuck happened to him. He doesn't know when to play. to me, he could have saved that moment, in my opinion. He could have saved that moment with Shiv. He could have won. He could have still won, but he fucking, which all of them do, they revert back to their children selves. They did. I'm the eldest boy. I'm like, man,
I'm the eldest son.
As soon as he said, I'm the eldest boy, I was like, nigga, you lost. It's over. It's over. It's fucking over. What the fuck are you talking about? Who gives a shit if you're not the eldest boy? And even if you were, it doesn't fucking matter. You're telling this to a woman who wants to be like the woman amongst the boys, and you're like, I'm the eldest boy to her? No.
What about the bloodline, Keem? What about the bloodline?
It's me. I'm the bloodline. What do you mean? What do you mean, children? What do you mean? But anyway.
They are a pair of randos. One is a buy-in, the other's half Rava, and some filing cabinet guy, right?
Like
that was the most fucked up comment maybe.
But see, no, it wasn't to me, in my opinion, the most. But like, I was like, she was like, "Yo, Roman, chill." I was like, no, you're not telling him to chill, bro. Like, do you realize what you're doing right now? Like, you're not telling him to chill.
You killed a guy.
Okay. So Kendall's kind of like a Michael, but like a great value, very much a great value Michael. I think, and I texted to KDot in our group chat when this happened. He doesn't know. The scene that happened was when Kendall's holding Roman, like comforting him. I texted KDot like, it was never going to be you, Frodo. Because I'm thinking like it's gonna be Kendall.
You say Frodo? You said Frodo.
I did. Shout out to Frodo too. Fredo. But
hold on, which scene? Yeah, I need which consoling scene?
Oh, the last one. The last one.
Your stitches.
The little
up.
last one where he's like, where they're in the and like Roman's like, why isn't it me? What?
Where he busts his seams open on the goddamn.
Open. That was cruel and calculated and very Logan-esque.
He's like. It's all right, but could have been you. Could have been you, bud.
I read that scene totally different though.
How'd you read it?
I read it that he was abusing the shit out of Roman. He was trying to bust the seams on his forehead.
Oh yeah, I thought that.
No, for sure. Okay. But it was like he
was consoling him.
It's never going to be. It was never going to be you, Frodo. But I mean, Fredo. But like.
Goddamn, Frodo.
I don't even like Lord of the Rings.
The perfect
I've never seen it.
Of emotional and physical abuse that somebody like Logan would have done, right?
Yes, yes, and that was that was one of the things that I was getting excited about. So I was talking to this about I was talking with another friend about this and like what our expectations were leading into the finale, and I was like, he was saying like. Basically what happened, he was like, I think it's going to be Tom and Greg. And he was like, I think like Shiv's going to fuck him. I was like, yeah, I could see that happening. I think that's a really realistic perspective. But the way it's been loading up this entire time, this entire series, I feel like it's going to be Kendall. And so I was wrong. He was absolutely right. But we were talking about it and he was just saying like, you know, the way Tom is, like the way Greg is, it makes perfect sense for it to set up like that, and the way Shiv is, and she'll betray them, whatever. So okay, cool. Like I can see it. Because of Succession, but I don't think it's good.
Can I stop you 1 second?
Yeah.
Just 1 second. 1 second. So the question that was posed to you, and the reason the cut meter is still sitting at 0, is I asked you about Shiv's decision. Now you spent this entire time talking about Kendall. Why did you want Kendall to win so goddamn bad? Is this the only reason you disagree with Chip?
I just think, and this is what I was going to get to, but it was just like, I think Kendall is the most like Logan, but he's modern Logan, but he's just weaker. And I wanted to see him do his thing, but I thought like the turn was for him being Logan's death. I thought like the wheels are spinning now. When he made his speech, I'm like, oh yeah, be a badass. Because Kendall's too nice. Kendall's too fucking nice. He doesn't realize it, but he's too fucking nice. He's too considerate. He's not a killer. He's not a killer like Logan is.
Recently.
I mean, he's but Kendall's too nice, and he's like, and I'm like, oh, he's like, I hope that I have that in me. I'm like, yeah, I hope you do too. You don't, though. You don't. You don't.
I'm gonna hop back in because I did. So on this Succession pod, the official Succession pod, Jeremy Strong was on for the final episode, which is phenomenal. They got him to actually agree to show up and do this. But the things that are resonating with me are how much you agree with him about the character of Kendall, which is Jeremy Strong, who everybody knows he's a method actor and really can't separate himself from the Kendall character, which is why he's taking a break and his next role will be on Broadway in about a year and a half, as he said. He just needs a break. He said it's been a lot. He just needs to take some time away. He is of the idea, as Keem is to a certain degree, that no, he when Kara Swisher or whatever her name is, when she asked him, he's like, no, Kendall was the right choice. He could have done it. It was the right choice to elevate.
See, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's the right choice. I'm not saying it's the right choice. He was the best. He was the best choice amongst the children. He was the best choice because
okay, that's
because like I said, like Roman is Fredo, not Frodo. Roman is Fredo. He doesn't even want it. He's not like, you know what I'm saying? He's smart. Like, he's smart, Michael. He's smart. And that's him. And Sarah Snook, aka Shiv, is what's her name? What's her name? Oh shit. What's her name from Godfather?
Shiv?
No, from Godfather.
Connie?
She's Connie. You don't she's Connie. Think about it. She's Connie.
Connie in 3.
Yes. Yeah. She's Connie. But she's Connie. And it's like,
I can see Connie in 3.
yeah, but
she's Connie in 3 is great. Bad decisions, but she's
bad
great.
decisions.
But she's great.
Bad decisions.
Yeah, no, she elevates. But she's great. There was one thing when you sent the text. So as I knew I wasn't going to watch the episode live, Brendan got a phone call from me. Hey, I'm leaving the barbecue. Radio silence. Let's not even talk tonight. I'll talk to you tomorrow. He's like, cool. The Keem, all excited, drops me a Godfather 2 quote. And I'm like, stop! Nigga, stop!
I didn't know. I just want to say, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I so apologize for that.
No, you're good.
But if like, listen, I was debating what to send. You lucky I didn't send what I wanted to send.
Yeah, I know. Thank God.
To send was a spoiler. I was just going to be honest.
Another reason I brought up the Jeremy Strong thing was that he did talk about a few things, and I'm gonna talk about one of them at the end of this, was we're going through some of the best scenes in this last episode. But apparently in the room after so to me the thing with Kendall is we're kind of moving into the Kendall thing after the Shiv thing. To me, this episode was Kendall becoming Logan. Uh-huh. This was the final anointment of you've just become your bastardized version of what you think Logan was. And to me, the there's the hug, but there's the physical choking Roman, which is a la Logan fucking beating the shit out of Roman, which was just like, oh, you've gone the full, you've gone full Logan.
To be fair, I didn't have a problem with the choking of the Roman because after the shit he said about his kids, like, I think that's a valid response.
I can understand that, but you can also see in every other moment when Logan ever got to a point where he wanted to lay his hands on Roman, who's the person that sticks up for him?
Kendall. It's Kendall.
And it was the moment in which Kendall, regardless of what, and Roman has always said, fucked up shit. It's not new to anyone. As the entire car ride in last episode wanted to fuck his pregnant sister. Weird as shit. It's Roman, okay?
That car ride was disturbing and hysterical.
But what I found amazing is that Jeremy Strong admitted that as far as what was on the page compared to what they did that day. So the scene was apparently supposed to end with Kendall and Roman in the room. That was it. And Kendall and Jeremy Strong said that he and Mark Mylod were there, and Kendall just got up and walked back to the boardroom. Wasn't in the script initially.
I'm glad he did.
So the camera just follows.
I'm glad he did.
So the camera follows him. Now here's the thing that happens. So when he's back in the room and he tells Frank, "Hey, let's run it back. How can we stop it? Can we do this, that, and the other?" And there's a look of shock on everybody's faces because it's kind of happening in real time. But Jeremy or Mark gave the actor that plays Frank the line, 7-6 we sell to Gojo. You don't have it. There was a line that was cut that Frank actually says and Jeremy Strong reacted to, which was a la what it is that you sent me in the text. You never had it.
They should have did that. I agree.
I kind of agree that they should.
They should have. It would have landed
Frank
it for me.
tells Kendall.
It would have landed it for me.
I think that would have been too on the nose Godfather.
No, that's why it would have made it perfect. It would have been perfect.
But apparently, so the reason that Kendall looks the way he does, he says it wasn't anything else that happened other than when Frank tells him in that moment, "You never had it, kid." He boiled back
they
down
needed that.
to.
I'll just be honest with you. They needed that for me. They needed it for me. It's the fan service, but it's also because when we go back to the third episode of the season, and you realize that Frank is Kendall's godfather, and when he's talking to him on the phone, he's like, "Son, there's nothing we can do, son." Like they always had that relationship.
One of my favorite moments in the entire series is Frank hitting the wall.
Yes.
Where he's frustrated.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite moments.
I agree. And it's like, you got to give me that moment. Just give me that moment. And I would have felt so much better about it. It would have been like, oh, damn, Frank breaking the news to it. Like, yo, Frank. And then it's just like, it would have come full circle for me. But I mean, again, it's still a great series. Good finale, all that stuff.
Like it works. It works for me even knowing that they cut the scene because now Jeremy Strong said it. So now in my mind, it forever played out that way.
See? No, it didn't. That's your bullshit. You're bullshit.
No,
you're bullshit. Brendan's bullshit. I'm bullshit. We're all bullshit. We're all bullshit.
We're all bullshit.
But I think that the fact that you can see on Jeremy Strong's or on Kendall's face, it lands.
Yeah,
it's landing. That walk to the elevator, and let's just talk about that because, like, I'm thinking about it. All the scenes that are here, I think let's just stay with some of the final shit that happened, okay? Because we're like 50 minutes or something on this thing already. Although I do want to talk about Caroline's take on human eyes, which was some of my favorite shit.
It's hilarious, but go ahead. She is hilarious. Something wrong with her. Something is wrong with her for real.
I know we'll go back to some of the scenes, but let's take the time to go here where the show ended. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but the moment that Kendall walked out of that board meeting or walked out of the boardroom and took the elevator, I thought he was going up to the roof.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I thought he was going to tell him in this shit. I was like, oh, he's going to tell him in this shit, and I was like, he didn't know.
I thought so too, but I looked very carefully. I actually paused it. I was watching it on HBO Go, and I was like, "No, I think that motherfucker clicked the bottom left."
Yeah, no, he had him near the bottom somewhere.
And I was still wondering: is he going to kill himself? Is he going to end with him committing suicide?
I thought he was going to jump into the water. I was like, "Oh."
So once again, maybe as Brendan, so we had a discussion before the podcast started about me and Brendan's takes on wanting to know how the sausage is made when it comes to art. Brendan's a fucking idiot, and I'm right, and you want to know. But the idea was the final shot of the Succession series, which is Kendall walks down to the river in the park, and he sits on the bench, or he stands up, he walks over to the water, and MCs looked at choppy.
Yeah.
And I thought that motherfucker was going over.
Me too.
Everybody think the same thing?
I didn't think that. I thought there was a strong possibility, but I thought for sure that what's his name was going to, if he did go over.
Carl?
What's his name?
Not Carl.
Colin.
Colin was going to be right over there fishing his ass out.
No, I thought there was a. Okay, sorry.
I thut that would be a fitting way for the series to end. Kendall can't even commit suicide, right? As his bodyguard hauling his ass out of the Hudson.
Well, when I saw the water and the way they shot, I literally thought that we were going to get a zoom out, and we were going to get our Fredo on the boat moment. I thought that's what we were going to get. Is you just see Kendall, and you wouldn't see Kendall, and then that'd be the end of the series. Now, to pull the curtain back once again, Jeremy Strong admitted something else on the podcast about that scene. So, he was out there. He was feeling it. They had just shot a bunch of stuff, and he was really, really upset about Kendall. So he said as they're playing music, the score, Nicholas Patel has done a phenomenal job. He does not get enough credit for what he did in the show, especially this episode. There were some moments that he was doing stuff with the score, which is absolutely phenomenal. But the end, Jeremy Strong says that they're out there, they're shooting, and it was really, really windy that day. And one of the metal poles on the railing was banging up against another one of the metal poles in the railing, like something was loose. And he said it was this aggravating metal sound. Just bing, bang, bang. And he's like, he just couldn't take it anymore and went over the rail. And the actor that played Colin ran and pulled his ass back over the railing. And that's how Jeremy Strong thought it should end. He thought it was over. He wanted to kill himself. He wanted to die. So, and I see Keem making a face, which is Jeremy Strong on his actor shit.
I just want to say, because I was going to ask you about this.
Vanity Fair article.
I was going to ask you about this because I'm not going to be long. I just want to see if you agree with Brian Cox. That's all. Like how, because I know, I'm sure you've read like what Brian Cox has said about him, Jeremy Strong, like him needing,
Brian Cox is
him needing to like Jeremy
great.
needing to chill and like relax and like motherfucker like it's acting. Like we don't need to do all that.
Yeah, I agree in theory, but Jeremy Strong's performance is so strong. If that's what works to him, and he wants to put him through himself through mental hell to deliver an amazing performance for me, I'm not going to complain.
I disagree. I don't think it's that strong. I don't.
I think I'm going to be completely honest, and maybe I'm going to need to probably revisit this 6 months, a year from now, because right now it's like I'm really high on it, but I'm actually elevating the Kendall Roy character's top 3 all-time movie TV characters.
He's an unbelievable character.
I can't separate. It's Gandolfini-like, and I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to separate from man.
Separate Jeremy Strong.
Have you seen him do other stuff?
Yeah.
Strong?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. One of
You
my
watch him in The Gentleman?
So
Yes,
but my thing is, so my favorite, as far as niche movies, my most rewatchable movies are movies about the 2008 financial crisis for some fucking reason.
You like
So
Get
like,
Smart? Not Get
Margin
Smart.
Call.
What's the one? Not Get Smart.
Margin Call is.
What's the other one?
Big Short.
Yeah, Big Short.
Big Short.
And he's in Big Short. He's my favorite character in Big Short.
He's great.
He's just great. I love Jeremy Strong. He's even in that shitty that fucking weird Matthew McConaughey movie. And have you guys ever seen it? It's after the McConaughey started, Matthew made a couple really weird choices. There's one movie particularly that takes place on like an island, and he's on a boat.
You're not talking about the one that kind of helped him with the two kids.
No.
Okay.
I'll see if I can pull up the. I'll try to pull it up.
No,
but
I get it. But
okay.
Jeremy Strong to me was never like James Gandolfini with Tony, because Tony was the first thing I'd ever seen James Gandolfini do, and the only thing I saw him do for a long time. So
true romance, homie. True motherfucking romance.
I think.
Oh, I'd probably seen True Romance. I just didn't remember the role. Yeah.
Serenity. The movie's Serenity.
Yeah,
it's him and Anne Hathaway.
Oh
and
yeah, that's the one I was skipping.
Good.
Yeah, I skipped that.
And Digimon Hansu. No,
Digimon. I call him Digimon too. That's funny. That's hilarious. I call him Digimon. Yeah, no, I know that movie that you're talking about. I just skipped it on purpose.
It's not good. But Jeremy Strong's in it. He's very interesting in it. Very, very interesting in it. But he's interesting like Zero Dark 30. Every time I've seen him and everything, I like him. The only thing I'd say about that is that I don't know if you guys watch, but on YouTube they have a series for the Hollywood Reporter, which is inside. So I was always
Actors Roundtable. Oh, never mind.
The Actors Roundtable. So I'm obsessed with them.
I love them.
The one that came out a few days ago is
which one? Because I saw the one with Damson. And you're talking about one with Damson Idris and everybody.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, that was great.
Idris,
that was fucking great.
With Kieran Culkin.
Yeah, Kieran was great. Kieran was fucking
Jeff
great.
Bridges.
Kieran and fucking Pedro were fucking bonding like a bitch. Like they were fucking like, oh, we love each other, like type shit.
But the moment that sealed it for me, that kind of goes to your question. I wanted to give Evan Peters a hug.
I feel bad.
That motherfucker's going.
You could tell. You could see it. You could see it. You could see it.
So they were talking about the method. And they were talking about how it is that it's hard. So Pedro Pascal probably had the best take on it than anyone, which is that he thought, like you hear Samuel L. Jackson talk about it, you hear some other actors talk about, like, no, I go to work, and once I'm done with the scene, I'm done. I just go about my day, right? And he's like, he thought it was the same way, but then he realized after time, like, there's certain things that kind of stick with you. You don't even realize they're sticking with you. And Evan Peters, if everybody knows, just played fucking Jeffrey Dahmer in a TV show.
And he looked like it. And he looked like it.
He looks like he is going fucking through it. Like, they ask him about his method and everything. He doesn't really want to talk much about it. And there's just, And the thing is, you see Evan Peters in certain things, and he's so affable and just nice and fun. And looks like he hasn't shaven. He looks like he hasn't showered. That motherfucker looks like he probably did murder a few motherfucking people to do this role. And I'm with Brendan on this, is that whatever's required of the role and what you have to give to it is what I agree with. I think there are some people that can turn on, turn off. Jack Nicholson's a great one of that. I love Jack. But when you hear about Jack on like The Shining, right? There's a great video of Jack preparing himself and getting hyped up before he does the axe scene with Shelley Duvall. But they said in between takes, he's just cracking jokes. He's like, hey guys, you gotta watch the Lakers game tonight. And he's good with it. But for some people, it doesn't work. And if you're looking at who the best actors are of like that we've seen, Daniel Day-Lewis, method, pure method. No? Or what are you laughing about?
I was just gonna say, do you know who else is great with that? I won't say his real name. You know who else is great with like going in and out of it? Frank Underwood. He's fucking great. No, I'm serious though. He was fucking great at it. But I know he's like Ted.
I'll say his name, Kevin motherfucking Spacey. His movies are the shit. I don't give a fuck, yo. I can't. There's too many great Kevin Spacey movies for me to stop. He was so fucking great
at it. That's all I'm saying.
I watched The Negotiator like 3 weeks ago.
Bro,
I'm like, dog, this movie is done.
Usual Suspects, Frank Underwood, fucking American Beauty. Like, oh, like, fucking get out.
American Beauty is the only one that's hard to watch.
Because, I can't watch that.
House of Cards is tough too. House of Cards is a little tough. Him and Kate Mara are a little tough.
Yeah.
It's just, look, whatever's required. Because Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Day-Lewis, wait, you're not allowed to call me anything but Mr. Lincoln. Okay, Daniel. I guess we're gonna get the performance. Like but then there's difference. There's Wesley Snipes on Blade 3. I will only be referred to as Blade. Nigga, shut the fuck up. Like, what are we doing?
You do not need to be method acting for Blade.
What are we doing?
Yes, you do.
Like, yeah,
Mahershala does it.
Yeah, not for that movie. Not for Blade 3.
No.
If he did it on Blade 1,
Blade
I get
2.
it. Not Blade 3.
2 is the best one.
Blade 2, yeah. Blade 2 is great.
I don't care what your method is as long as it gets as long as you get
I do care. I do, because sometimes it don't be worth it. Like,
do you not think this was worth? You don't think this was worth?
No, hold on. I don't think it's worth whatever he put himself through for the Kendall character. Like, Kendall is a great character, but also it's like, I don't think Kendall will be thought of in the, like you said, like your James Gandolfini, or like, I'll be honest. So how you feel about Kendall / Jeremy Strong is how I feel about Charlie Hunnam / Jax Teller. I feel like Charlie can really act. He did great in that fucking series, and like because of the shit that it is.
Sons of Anarchy, right?
No, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. But I feel like Charlie was, yes, but it is Sons of Anarchy. He was great in that series, and he was underserved because of how the series was, but he was perfect. There's some scenes. There's a scene with CCH Pounder, who's a legendary voice actor and an actress. There are scenes with CCH Pounder where I'm like,
shout out the Shield.
Amazing. Yes.
It was not good. It was noticeable.
No, don't do that. So the same way I feel about Yellowstone is the same way I feel about Sons of Anarchy, and this is just the only take to have about it. It's a soap opera. It's a violent soap opera.
I don't disagree with you, but the performance can be better than what it is.
To me, I'm a fan of wrestling. I like wrestling. Not nowadays, but I was always a fan of wrestling. Soap opera and then dudes beating each other up, right? Sons of Anarchy is like that, except shooting people. Like it's just that. Elevated violence.
It's very much that.
But it is a fucking soap opera. It is over the top. It's nutty. It is highly entertaining. And it's the same way I feel about Yellowstone, which is just Sons of Anarchy on fucking horses. But it's the same way I feel about Grey's Anatomy. Highly fucking entertaining. Not action the same way, although they have an episode where motherfucker can't take the hand out of a body because there's a grenade in it. It's dumb as shit.
No.
But it's entertaining.
I don't disagree with any of that, but I'm just saying, like, it's similar to a Marvel movie. Like, you can see, like, this is bullshit, but Jonathan Majors just gave a great performance. And it's like, I love this performance. Or fucking Tom Hiddleston just gave a great performance. I love this performance. It's that. It's very much that. I'm not saying like Sons of Anarchy is some fucking like Succession level show. I'm saying I feel about the actor, like the actor's performance.
That's the disconnect.
I love soap operas. I'm a huge soap opera fan, but that doesn't mean that there's not bad and good soap operas. And don't get me wrong, I frequently watch and enjoy very bad soap opera.
How much soap operas do you watch? Is that your day?
Guiding Light? What are we talking? Like Young and the Restless? Like what are we talking about?
No, like all the teen soap operas, like the
okay. One Tree Hill, one of my favorite soap operas. I
understand that they're terrible television, but I love them.
I'm with you. I agree. Okay.
Well, I think my only criticism for that take, and this is or the disconnect. I'm not even criticizing, just the disconnect from me. And maybe you can explain this. Is that to me, Sons of Anarchy? I'm not sure if it's a better show if Charlie Hunnam doesn't take himself super seriously, which is what he's doing as Jack Steller. I don't know if because he plays it so seriously, there's an earnestness to it. It's a through line that keeps me bought in. Or if he was more tongue in cheek, does it make it better? Because there are moments where I look at what's her name? The Katie Seagal, who plays.
She was great.
Fucking
mom. Great.
But there are some times where I can see she's having fun with this. Or there are times where I'm looking at Ron Perlman, I'm like, he's definitely having fun with this. And with Charlie, I'm like, I don't know if you're really having fun with this as much as you're putting your all into it. But the quality of show for that performance to me is weird. Whereas like to Jeremy Strong, to me, if you don't have complete and utter earnestness in him as Kendall, playing it as a drama, the L to the OG rap doesn't hit.
I disagree. I disagree in that I think if he had fun with it, he might be a little better served. Like he should have some fucking fun. I think that's a role. The difference is that's a role that you can have fun with. You're a fucking rich guy. You're Jeremy Strong. You're Jeremy fucking Strong and a spoiled Jeremy Strong. And like, and
let me bring it back to this episode.
Okay.
Let me bring it back to this episode. There's a moment in this episode when the kids are in Barbados when Kendall swims out to the thing and the two other siblings are doing impersonations of Kendall.
It was perfect too. That was fucking perfect. Fucking perfect.
But you can tell the impersonations was real life bleeding through. There is no doubt that all of them on set are totally making fun of Jeremy Strong acting as Kendall. We know it's happening. And the fact that they showed us a little bit of it was kind of funny.
It was perfect.
But it's like, but that to me works. The fact that you have this dude plays it so earnestly compared to the other siblings that can joke works for me. When Kendall does crack a joke, and sometimes they're not really funny, I get it. You're a fucking weirdo. Like, you're just a weird dude, and it works for that. The one who's always outside of the rest of the group kind of doing his own thing, and the dude who's most colossally fucked up from his dad. It's one of those things where it's like the real world mesh with this guy to create this perfect thing. The same way that I look at, like, there was always a cast list of who was on the short list for Tony Soprano. And some of them are really, so the guy who ended up playing, I forget his real name, the guy who ended up playing, I know you haven't seen the show, but there's a dude who ends up playing Jackie Aprile in the show, who was supposed to be Tony. The actor that played Jackie was supposed to be Tony. Great actor. Aprile, Jackie's an amazing character in the show. Yeah. I love him as an actor. I can't separate Gandolfini from Tony. It was perfection incarnate. And the same way I feel about Kendall is the show doesn't work being the biting satire it is without that guy playing. I don't know if anybody in that age bracket, anybody that could do it without feeling that way. I think because he's ostracized on the cast, because Brian Cox feels that way about him, bled through to the show. I can see Brian Cox feeling that way about him in the show.
Did you watch him in what was the Jessica Chastain movie with the gambling?
Molly's
Game. Did you watch him in Molly's Game?
Yeah.
Kind of similar to me. Kind of similar character.
I don't see it. No, I think it's a little different. I get what you're saying.
It's not. I'm not saying it's not the same. It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. But there's a certain note.
Yeah. It's like I can like so when my first experience with Jeremy was I saw him in Molly's Game before I saw him in Succession. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. He's good. Like I like him. Like okay, but it just didn't feel. It didn't feel like a complete transformation from like what I saw in Molly's Game. Like it was like okay, this is like Molly's Game on steroids and like with some good HGH and like you've been working out, you've been hitting the fucking gym all summer. And like that's what this is. And it was like, okay, cool, like I respect that. But it didn't feel like a far cry from like, oh, Molly's Game. And but again, I talk to people about this all the time. Actors, the really transformative actors, there are so few and far between. It's so rare. So
Oh, the guys that could disappear into like the good character actors, like the Gary Oldman.
yes, Gary Oldman, Daniel Day-Lewis, and I can't think of other people right now.
But that's the thing to me is that
Philip Seymour,
you don't need to do that.
Yes, before he passed. Yes.
Oh, Philip. Most underrated performance of the 21st century is Philip Seymour Hoffman in
The Master.
Along Came Polly.
Okay.
Along Came Polly. No, The Master's properly rated as excellent. Along Came Polly. It was perfect.
He steals that fucking movie. He's the funniest human being ever when he wants to
fun in that movie. Yeah.
He's so great. And also him in Boogie Nights.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, him and Boogie Nights is like hilarious.
When he tries to kiss Dirk.
Look
at my car. Come and see my car, Dirk. Oh, the cringe in the. Oh God, you feel for him so bad. All right, we went long on Kendall. I do want to go over the legacy of Succession, but before I do that, I'm not going to go through all the scenes. But outside of everything that happened at as we're just wrapping up the series finale, we've talked ad nauseum about what happened with the board meeting vote and all that kind of shit. Did you guys have a favorite scene in this particular episode, or maybe a quote that really worked for you? What was your lasting?
Mine is easy. The fucking kid. When I think that they're happy and they're all coming together, it's literally from like the point we talked about when they're on the beach and like mocking Kendall to the point where, you know, like they go back into the boardroom. That's like that entire sequence is my favorite. In terms of favorite quote, "Fucked you like a pregnant cello." Played you like a pregnant cello. I love that. Like that. Like they did because it resonated with who Shiv is and how it ended. Because I thought like Shiv was very much like she wanted to win so bad and stuff, but like she's not really Kendall. I mean, she's not really Logan. She's her mom. She doesn't really want to win. She just doesn't want to lose. And so that's who she is. But yeah, those were the two things that stood out for me.
Brensky?
My favorite scene that wasn't that was the scene where they all sit down to dinner at Caroline's house, and you realize and as you realize it's a pitch meeting. I was dying laughing when you may think this is inappropriate. And Roman's like, yeah, because it is, but it's not. I just started cracking up. I had to replay it because I was missing details because I was laughing so hard. And it wasn't until
Do you know what the business pitch was? Could you make it out?
But what I could figure out, it was on the second watch through that I figured out how he's trying to discuss how this is borderline criminal, but his lawyers will assure him that they're fine. They're safe.
They're fine.
Yeah. And then
she says something about the friend can only be here for a certain amount of time.
At a time,
because he has to go back.
I didn't catch that on the first watch, and I just could not stop laughing at the entire sequence.
The creamy margins.
The creamy margins. It was so fun, and it was so perfect too because it was not just it was showing that Caroline's absolute bullshit, where she thinks she just wants a nice family weekend. She has gotten her children there so her husband and his criminal friend can pitch a borderline criminal scheme to them over dinner. I just could not stop laughing at that scene. So yes, and my favorite line was the creamy margins.
It's great. Keem, I have to shout out that the score changes to something the most jolly we've ever seen in Succession. Yep. It's rushing, fun music from Roman with the cheese. I'm sorry, Peter. I've licked your cheese. It's so fucking
I do wonder like how they had them, like if they were like just gave them a lot of leeway. Like I wonder how they shot that. Like just like
they did. It's
just go.
Pulling the curtain back. It's the final scene that they ever shot in Succession. Was that scene?
It makes sense. It seemed like it.
Jeremy Strong actually drank that concoction.
Of course he did.
Because he's Jeremy Strong in his method. He had to throw up after every take. They did, I think, 3 to 5 takes, and he had to run outside and throw up. After Roman pours everything over, he jumped into the ocean to wash himself, to clean himself off. He said it was the most disgusting thing he ever had in his life, but as Kendall, he knew that he wanted to be king so bad he had to drink it. I love the man. I love Jeremy Strong for that. I love him. I gotta love him for that. So yeah, that entire thing where you feel elated is great. But my favorite scene in the show is when it comes to a crashing halt. We are on cloud 9, even watching the virtual dinner with Logan, which was an amazing callback.
Fucking beautiful.
And to see Brian Cox one more time.
Fucking
Just
beautiful.
gorgeous. It almost didn't feel like I was kind of the way that they shot it and the way that they were joking and the way that Connor and everything was imperfect almost felt like it was just they caught the cast after hours just shooting.
Yeah.
Stuff. And it was awesome. Like everybody had their like guard down a little bit and it was just fun to see. But the moment that it ends, the conversation with Tom and Shiv, where Tom admits it's me.
Yeah.
And the best Nicholas Britell has ever done, there's a villain score that hits when Shiv marches back to her brothers. It is chills. And maybe it's because I've had a girlfriend or two look just like that walking after me. But the
Or
chills
two.
that I feel, or two, that when she marches in, but the thing is that, like, as I've said, me and Brennan have done this. The through line for me in this season has been, like Jesse has said, the Tom and Shiv relationship. Maybe I'm personalizing too much, but it is for me. And
they've had the best scenes.
That's happened in the show.
They've had the best scenes.
They've had the best scenes, and it is the most through line to me in the show. And to me, we were talking about Shiv's decision, and there's a moment when she looks at Tom, and she doesn't know what to say. And she just tries to say the most hurtful thing she can say. He picked you fucking empty suit, and runs off. But if you're being honest, Shiv, and you could see the gears kind of turning, she's just angry right then. But the person that was the most honest to her that entire episode was Tom.
Yeah.
No.
When she's on the plane earlier,
yeah.
and she asked him, is there anything? Tom could have been self-serving. Tom could have tried to save his ass. Tom could have told her anything she wanted to hear. And what did he say? Honestly, I don't know, Shiv. I don't fucking know. And I think that resonated. And in that moment where Shiv kind of reverts back, a lot of things came flooding back. And there was those moments where it's just kind of like, this is the beginning of the end for them. And it's just something I felt. It was just like when the villain theme hit, you could tell as much as it was we were with the siblings, Jesse did not treat her like a hero.
No.
She was a villain. She was a fucking villain. And it played itself out that way. And I just thought it was brilliant TV show running. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Succession's legacy. We've already gone too long. Just where does this show rank for you? Do you think it'll get better in time? Are you sad that it's gone? Should they have continued? Just what are your thoughts?
Okay, I'll go. It's a top 5 television show of all time for me. I exclude comedies from my list because they're too hard for me to mix the dramas into. So it's Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Succession, The Wire. This isn't in order. The Wire, and still Game of Thrones. Even though I like put my head in the sand and pretend the last season didn't exist. And it knocked Lost off, which was another one that I loved. So top 5, I think its legacy will get better because it's a critique of late stage capitalism, and I think those really age well. Like I watched The Wolf of Wall Street recently in the last couple of months, and I was like, this is more relevant now than when it came out.
Better.
Yeah, better. And so I think that will age well. But really, what it does is, so they ended it fine. But I just want more. I understand he told his story and he told it so well, but I'm not ready to let these characters go, right? I'm not ready to let this world go or these characters go. And I know no spinoffs will happen. I know nothing like that is going to happen, but I just wish it would. But I think that's the mark of a great TV show is that, it has an ending. You're satisfied with the ending, but you're not ready to let these characters go yet, even though they left them in a place that is satisfactory.
So
that's what I
So I'll say, as much as I disagree with Brendan in the sense that I wanted more, I love a perfect culmination ending. Like I don't need more. I don't need you didn't give me too much. You didn't leave me too little. And I feel like this was the perfect like culmination of that because with that, I kind of know what's going to happen with everybody. I'll be honest with you. I know where Shiv is going in that relationship with Tom. I know what Roman's going to do. I think they showed us enough of Kendall to know, like, hey, he's not going to kill himself, but he's going to continue to fail and like fail a lot, and he's going to keep trying and doing shit, and he's going to be rich, and that's just kind of going to be his story. And so I feel like I knew, like, no, I'm serious though. I'm like dead ass, like.
No. I'm remembering a meme that I saw. Have you guys ever seen the Jinx?
Yeah.
I know what it is, but no, I've never seen it.
About the real life dude, Robert.
Yeah.
Whatever. Somebody posted that and said, Kendall Roy in 50 years.
But yeah, so like I see, like I know, I feel like I know where Kendall ends, I know where Roman ends, I know where Shiv ends. Like it's kind of like they've been showing us there's a repeat of like their character beats for in this entire series, and it's like, yo, we were. What I like to tell people is like hope is like the greatest weakness and the greatest strength of like humans. And it's like I was hoping, I was hoping that it would be different. I was hoping it would be different. It wasn't. And so, but I know what he is. But I was hoping it would be different. I know who he is, and I know what he'll do. Same thing for Shiv. Same thing for Roman. It's the story's over, completely ended. I get it. I don't need to see anything else. Their legacy, in my opinion, is top 3 HBO show of all time. Top, in my opinion, because HBO has most of the best shows. Top 5 or top, in my opinion, top 4 show period of all time. And I think it'll age well. I think it'll get better with time. You talk about the performances, man. Like you got to bring up The Wire in comparison in terms of we talk about performances. Logan fucking Roy, Kendall Roy, like they had some fucking performance. Siobhan, like come on, like with like Roman, like Tom, like come on, bro. Like they had some top tier fucking performances. They were up there. And so respect to them. I appreciate how they ended. I appreciate them being able to land the plane. For me, it's The Wire and Succession right now in terms of where I am. I'll have to think about it more and all that good stuff, but that's where I am right now. And that's their legacy. It's like, yo, we did that shit. It was 4 seasons. It was fucking each season, in my opinion, got better than the last season. The season, there's a scene that kind of like encompasses all of like the things that Succession is about for me in the first season. If you watch it and you like, if anybody's like, yo, should I get into Succession? If you get to the episode where they're at the baseball field with those randos and like Roman is, like tells the kid like I'll write you a $1 million check or whatever, and it's like, yo, like it's fine. Like if you hit the fucking home run, I got you, bro. And like, you know, like whatever happens, like what happens. And it's like, that's how you know if Succession is for you or not. Like, if you can enjoy that scene, it's like, you can enjoy this fucking show. So, great fucking show, man. I hope, I know Kieran was talking about how, like, he doesn't get a lot of work like that on the fucking the Hollywood Reporter. But I hope he does get more shit. I'm sure Kendall, Jeremy will get more shit to do. I hope Siobhan does. She was great in the Steve Jobs movie. That was where I first saw her. And man, it was a great show, legendary show.
As I said, top 2 show for me all time. That might be recency bias. It always changes because as you guys alluded to, some things change over time. Wolf of Wall Street got better in my estimation over time, right? So things can change depending on what happens in real life and all that kinds of stuff. The change the legacies stuff. Keem, I pretty much second almost everything you said. It just as a show overall, if you just think about the performances alone, the fact that you could get like a few episode run of fucking Holly Hunter on there batting a fucking 1,000, and Sherry Jones comes on and is like, holy shit. You got fucking Larry Pines in a wheelchair giving a fucking performance of a lifetime. Like, it's just, what the fuck? Like, you just get these throwaway things that are like, dude, this is awesome. And even just, there's some people that you just see in the show and you're just like, oh my God, I just want to be part of it. In the what Connor's wedding episode, Jamie Chung is in it for some fucking reason.
For no fucking reason at all. No fucking reason, but I love it. But I love it.
I loved it. It's this show is going to be one of those things that I'm going to be able to turn on at any given point in time and just pick up and watch, and I'll be okay with it. Not okay with it. I'll be great with it. To me, along the lines of what Brennan was saying, the mark of a great show to me is not necessarily a full conclusion, I don't need to know everything that happens. I just need to know that a chapter's closed for you. I need to know that you have something else coming. I would say that I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about that part of it when Keem was talking about what was your line about hope?
Oh, hope is like the greatest strength and weakness of humans.
So I thought about it. So as you said that, I've been thinking about it in the sense of, I want to say that I don't know where these characters are going, but I think that's hope.
You do.
I think that
because you do.
I think that right. It's that when I look at Tom and Shiv, which I know I keep going back to, and I see them in the car, I'm still like, they can make it work.
Co-parenting like a bitch right now. If it's 10 years like that, co-parenting like a bitch right now. Like they're.
I see Roman with the smirk on his face ordering Jerry's favorite drink. But then if you watch closely, right after the smirk, there's sadness in him. And you're like, you're going to be an alcoholic fuck you're going to be in jail about 10 years from now, or at least paying off a lot of people.
You're right, Kadeen. The thing is, like, I think we know, because we know these characters so well, where they're going, their generalities, right? Like, we know how their stories will play out because it's circular and they cannot escape. As Kendall said in, what was it, episode 8, the poison drips through.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean I don't want to see that journey.
No.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it, is that while it's not that these characters, I need to see more of their story, it's, I'm going to miss this show.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm always going to have the episodes they have, but the feeling I got every Sunday turning on HBO Max and getting to be with these horrible fucking people that made me feel a little bit better about myself is going to be something I fucking miss. I cherished it. I cherished it for the years that I have. And I'll forever get to cherish that show. But the same way I felt about The Wire when it ended, the story found its natural conclusion. The story was told. But the mark to me of something great is, do you think about it after it's done? And I won't ever stop thinking about this show. And I won't ever stop talking to people about this show. And it is going to be one of those things like The Wire. Years from now, you're having a random conversation with somebody, and something about Succession is going to come up, and you're going to talk about it. And you're going to talk about it at length. And me and Brendan have had this conversation a lot, is that post-Trump, it has been so hard to find satire that works. Because the world has gotten so fucking crazy.
And they made their Trump.
And they did it.
They did their Trump.
Like,
Shout out to Mencken.
And like and the thing is, Mencken looks like he's not gonna win. Funky stuff in Wisconsin. But it's looking right now as though, like, I'm one that believes there's a movie that was not really well received, Don't Look Up, that was on Netflix a couple years ago.
Was it? It wasn't.
And
I thought it was fine.
A lot of people didn't.
I thought it was fine.
I liked it a lot.
Not like you, Keem. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like, this is amazing or anything.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. So the reason, and I'm recontextualizing the way I feel about this movie past Succession. I know that sounds crazy, but this is the reason why. To me, what I thought that they were doing in that movie was realizing that because the world got so crazy, satire had to be so fucking over the top and in your face that 10 years from now, we'd look back on that and be like, wow, were we that fucking crazy? And then it maybe gets better with age. But I don't think that they understood the subtleties that you could sort of have in satire to make it work. And I think it took an outsider in Jesse Armstrong, with all of his British TV history, with all of his knowledge of American audiences, with all of his knowledge of the tech billionaires and the really wealthy families and the way that we treat capitalism, to turn the mirror on us and say, hey, fuckers, this is what we think. And it's like, sometimes you need the outside input. And I will forever cherish that. And I think that it's one of those things that satire lives so long if it's done right. I still watch Dr. Strangelove maybe once every 6 months and love that shit. Like, there are certain things that just live forever. And I think this will be one of those shows that absolutely.
I want to cut it back on. Literally, I want to cut it back on right now so I can relive it.
I'm about to do a load of laundry, and I'm going to rewatch this. I'm probably going to rewatch the finale a couple other times, then I'm going to start my rewatch of the series very shortly.
Firing up episodes from season 1.
That's what I want. I want to start at season 1. I want to start at season 1.
I'm going to try to convince my own Shiv that we should get into the show together and that she should watch, and we'll go from there. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Anything else for the people?
Great show. I'm gonna miss it, man. I am. I'm just gonna miss it.
I just want to say thank you to all the actors, actresses, people in the writers and producers who put this show together. Like Kieran talked a little bit about it, like when they were on the THR episode when he was like, "Yo, I knew it was a hit, but I didn't know people would watch it." And shout out to the people who watched it, because when I watched it the first time, like it was like during the second season had just aired, and I was like, "All right, people were saying Succession is great, you got to watch it." So I watched it, and it was fucking great. And shout out to the people who kept it alive, because man, it's a great fucking show, legendary show. Shout out to the people who made it a part of their legacy. And much respect to y'all, because I appreciate it just in terms of what it does for me in my life. Like I just love like just pure entertainment. And it's both like where I think the difference between that and the Wire is that I can put Succession on at any time, at any point. It doesn't really matter what episode, what part, and it's just like it's casual viewing, but it's just fucking legendary shit. Like it meets the like casual enough to be on in the background, but also really fucking good that when it's on in the background, that I put everything else that was in the foreground in the background, and I fucking pay attention to it, and it's just that fucking good. So shout out to the people involved, man. I just want to say thank you. That's all.
I echo both of these gentlemen's sentiments, and yeah, thanks for making something infinitely rewatchable, something that's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. You're 100% right. You can throw this bitch on in the background and be like, it's the ultimate rewatchable to me. Oh shit, there's a scene with Stewie coming. Yeah, I'm sitting there and watch this.
Stewie, show MVP.
Oh shit, no, it's the yacht scene, man. Toes up, both have toes out, bitch. It's like I can't. It's going to be one of those things that
that's one of my favorites.
Here comes Tom to eat Logan's
awesome.
Bro, when he Tom's
gonna get the fucking chicken, bro. Drop that shit and play. Like yeah, man. And you know what, Keem? I want to say thank you, because I was talking to someone at the barbecue and they were like, "I tried Succession, I didn't really feel it, I didn't know it," and I wanted to say, "Get the fuck out of our house, you bitch!" But I didn't. Because oh shit, she might watch this. My bad. I ain't talking about you. Shit, I get in a lot of trouble for that one. I ain't cutting it either. I meant what I meant. But what you said as far as the baseball scene, because that to me is a huge thing. So like, what I was having conversations with people about like how it is to start this show, and my thing is like, you can't look at it as a true drama. I said you got to look at it more as a comedy, but I disagree with that, because it's not funny to everybody.
It's not. It's not.
You're right. The moment I think that lasts for everyone is that pilot. Did you like what you saw at the baseball game? And if you just, whatever. All right, well, fuck you then. I ain't got nothing to say to you anymore. And that's how I'm going to operate. So thank you for allowing me to figure that out and filter through people in my life.
This is how I watched the baseball scene. Literally like this.
Yeah, with Roman and his wife and kids.
That disappeared after the first
Thanks for watching Unequal Opinions / Waystar Weekly, or now officially the Go Star Weekly.
Go Weekly. Go Joe.
The Gojo, sorry. Go Star.
Go Star. It's Gojo Go, actually.
Go Star. Gojo Go. That's great. It's been an absolute pleasure doing these pods. Sorry, we've been on a bit of a break or a hiatus. Extraordinary Wise is coming back, although this is not the channel. But appreciate it. Thank you, Keem. Thank you, Brendan. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Have a good one. Bye.